everybody, it is the Working Brother back at you with another talk. This is an impromptu one with George. I pushed the right buttons. Got him interested in talking about the situation in Pakistan. George, tell us a bit about what is going on in Pakistan.
Well, as we were talking before, I think what you were listening to, well, we've been talking about this all year. You said you were just listening to Richard Medhurst talk about it. That I always used to listen to YA News with Palki Sharma Upadhyay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the United States wanted to get rid of Imran Khan because he's Pashtun. He's been very pro-Taliban.
What does Pashtun mean?
Yeah, the Pashtuns, the ethnic tribe, the dominant ethnic tribe in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And their traditional boundaries from the Durrani Empire, in the 1700s, has been from the Amudarya to the Indus River. So from the border of Tajikistan and Uzbekistan down to the Indus River, that goes through the center of Pakistan. You got the slide set up?
Yeah.
The maps. All right. Yeah.
There we go.
See one of them. All right. I don't have a political map up there, but the Indus River. Okay. No, leave the other one up. I think. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine.
I think this has a river, right?
All right. Yeah, because I was about to say it's in that map, the Baluchistan people are in pink, and the green are the Pashtun. The yellow looks like the Sinds. Pretty much the Sinds. There's other groups mixed in there as we look in the other maps, and then the Punjabs are brown into the east. Mm-hmm. So traditionally, the Pashtuns had, from the Amudarya River, which is up on the border between Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, go north. Yeah, there you go. Go to, yeah, there you go. That's the Amudarya River.
This is an old map, but Soviet Union. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah. All right. Well, the people haven't changed. Whatever. The Western ideological boundaries have nothing to do with where the ethnic people are, which is the source of the problem, right?
Are you saying the Sykes-Picot agreement didn't solve Middle East peace?
Yeah, it created more problems, right?
What other maps have you got for us here? What was that first one? What did you say about the first one?
Well, we could just talk over the first one because it's simpler for people to grasp. Afghanistan, the Pashtun and the Baluchistan used to be conjoined, and Afghanistan used to have a pathway to the sea through Baluchistan. When the Brits were there, they divided up the Durand Line, which is in that map, that goes over the Suleiman Mountains and divides, what they call now Pakistan and Afghanistan. But when they drew that line there, it was just to divide boundaries for administrative purposes. It was never supposed to really, I think it was 1921 or something like that, or somewhere around there. Could be a little bit off. But it was supposed to be just administrative boundaries. It never really was supposed to be a national boundary. It didn't become a national boundary till 1947 when the British Raj split up and Pakistan became a country, then became a national boundary. But traditionally, the Pashtuns and the Baluchistans had been united, and Baluchis have been united from Afghanistan all the way down to the Indian Ocean down there in the bottom. So it wasn't until the Durand Line was drawn that the Pashtun got separated, the Baluch got separated, then the Baluch got separated again because the Brits drew the line between Iran and Pakistan, and they cut Baluchistan half again. So it's been divided up kind of 3 ways. Yeah, there you go. So that's Sistan, Baluchistan to the left of the line, and Pakistan, Baluchistan to the right of the line as you look at it. So with the U.S. pullout of Afghanistan, so they went from a nation-building project which ended in disaster. It ended up being a destabilization strategy, because now whatever. Let me.
We discussed that. We discussed that long ago.
Yeah.
I'll leave a link to a playlist and people can go find it.
Oh, okay. Do it that way then. So now, once the Taliban took over Afghanistan, and okay, if you look at Wire News and First Post News and some of the other ones, yeah, they all talk about how Imran Khan has been a spokesman for the Taliban the whole way. So since he was ousted because the United States doesn't want Pakistan to fall to the Taliban, it would look it'd make the Biden administration look really, really bad. B, then the Taliban would be in charge of a nuclear power country, and they can't do that, right? So they ousted Imran Khan, and since his ouster last year, he started leading these protests from Peshawar. Peshawar is the heartland of the Pashtun territory up north. It's on the road to the Khyber Pass. So when he's leading these big, huge convoy parades out of Peshawar towards Islamabad, what he's saying is not only it's a Pashtun protest against the Punjab majority, but it's really a Taliban takeover of Pakistan is what he's really saying. Now, the U.S. media won't report that. We were talking in between sessions here how I was watching Clayton and Natalie Morris on Redacted last week, I think it was, or whatever. And they were talking about the Imran Khan protests, and he got freed, and all the fighting and basically a civil war going on in Islamabad. They talked about how a lot of people think that his ouster was backed by the U.S. because they didn't want him to side. Well, the Biden administration had pressured India to go along with U.S. sanctions. They did not. Prime Minister Modi in India flew straight to Moscow and made a deal to buy oil and natural gas in a ruble and rupee trade. They didn't want Imran Khan to do the same thing, and his leanings were more towards Moscow than the United States, so he was ousted. Well, then he goes to Peshawar and starts leading his protests, contesting his ouster against Islamabad, but it becomes a Pashtun versus Punjab conflict, which you've been on my Telegram. The different Indian people on the page have always made fun about how those two are always fighting. It doesn't matter whether it's in a cricket match or a football match. It doesn't even matter whether it's a cricket or football match in Pakistan. It could be in London. So they were always posting camera phone footage of these two continuously fighting. So I just put in the comment section on that. Well, I mean, the obvious conflict here is the Pashtuns and the Punjabs. And then the United States, well, I don't know. Well, Brian Berletic, I'll throw his name in there and blame him for this. But he talks about that they're just happy. That way I don't have to take responsibility for it, right? So there just happens to be a lot of fighting wherever there's Russian or Chinese ports. So there just happens to be a big Chinese port down in Gwadar in southern Baluchistan on the Pakistan side. So there just happens to also be protests against the Chinese and for Baluch independence, but they're not protesting against the new Pakistan government. They're protesting against the Chinese base. Okay. Then there's police. There just happens to be police rape allegations on the Iranian Baluchistan side, and of course, they're trying to stop that railway system from Kash down to Chabahar port. So they'll stop the international north-south trade corridor between Russia, Azerbaijan, Iran, and India. So there's a lot of destabilization in that area, and it just happens to be destabilizing Russia-Chinese infrastructural projects. But the part that they can't control is the Pashtun element in this. So if Imran Khan was released by the court, because I don't know. Well, I don't know. It's about massive corruption. It's probably true, of course, but it's really taken on the Pashtun versus Punjab aspect to it. It's basically a civil war. Okay, there's no basically about it. The Taliban want to take over Pakistan.
So the reason that I even brought it up last time is because you know, you were talking about that surveillance grid and how they use you know, associations and people to like get you in trouble. And Imran Khan was mentioning that they arrested something, like they arrested him, and then the Supreme Court of Pakistan let him come out, but he's still under house arrest, number one, and number two, like he's posted on bail, but he's in house arrest, and he's also apparently not the only one who was arrested. Like all of his staff was also arrested. So that like drew the parallel with what you were saying, where you know they're fishing the net, and we all know that the ISI, I believe that's what they're called,
Inter Services Intelligence Agency.
Yeah, the Pakistani CIA ISI. We all know that they cooperate very closely with the U.S. intelligence services. So I don't know. It does seem like Imran Khan has also been caught in the web of what did you call them last time?
Oh, what, the social networking thing, or the
there you go, or the social networking,
or the regime change information? Yeah.
Well, somewhere on the intersection of those two, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So
let's go back to these maps. Go on.
There's just a lot going on there. Because one thing I covered when I was trying to do the regional strategic plans is the affinity of the Arabs to the Pashtun is that the Pashtun are believed to be 6 out of the 10 lost tribes of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So the people from the Arabian Peninsula would love to see the Pashtuns, because they think that those are the tribes of Israel that followed the right prophet path and converted over to Islam. They really want them to pivot through Iran and then attack Israel and fulfill the Hadith prophecies. That's their end times prophecy, and several Pakistan clerics have talked about that in the Black Flags of the Khorasan. You can just Google Black Flags of the Khorasan on YouTube, and those videos will pop up, and then binge watch them, because they tell you exactly what they want to do. So the Pashtun traditionally just want to reestablish the Durrani Empire and take their land back all the way to the Indus River. But then the external groups, the people from the Arabian Peninsula, want them to do that, but they really want them to attack through Iran and obliterate Iran and then go attack Israel. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, the divisions between the Taliban and the so-called foreign fighters is the foreign fighters want to engage Shia Iran and attack to the west, and the Pashtun nationalists want their land back to the east. So it's a conflict of which direction they expand to first.
Mm-hmm.
So with Imran Khan in power in Pakistan, obviously the Pashtun feel like they're gaining more and more power in Pakistan. If we back this up a little bit, because we were talking about Brzezinski during the 70s and his Operation Cyclone. They were backing the Mujahideen against the Soviets, but they were working in concert with General Zia al-Haq, who had assassinated Zulfikar Bhutto in 1978, and he was in power from 78 to 1988. He was a hardliner Islamist who worked with people from the Arabian Peninsula to bring Wahhabi Salafism into the region. So that changed it from being Sufi or Hanafi, I guess what Westerners would call more moderate forms of Islam, to hardline Wahhabism, which is what the Taliban are. So it changed it over to more of a Wahhabi Deobandist hardline 7th century type Islam. Reason why I bring that up is because the Punjabs were largely illiterate, 4 or 5 decades ago. And people see these videos of Iran being a Shia country and Afghanistan being mostly Sufi Sunni Islam, being the hippie tour on the way to Shangri-La in the Himalayas in northern Pakistan. Well, people always wonder, well, what changed? And for some reason, people really have the double speak in the West. They don't want to come out and say, well, it's Salafi Wahhabi Islam. That's what changed it. And what people from the Arabian Peninsula started putting billions of dollars into the mosques or the madrasas and the mosques in Baluchistan and the Pashtun areas of Pakistan. Well, not just the Pashtun areas, because General Zia al-Haq was, he wanted Wahhabi Islam everywhere. So they just started promoting these mosques. Well,
George, I got a question. I got a question before you get further on. Okay, make the point.
It took an illiterate Pashtuns, and it made them literate, and it made them politically powerful inside Pakistan. So now they're literate and they're united on both sides of the border. And I just wanted to end there.
So is it because like the Pakistani army is outsourced by the Saudi army? We've talked about the Saudis not arming their own army in order to not be overthrown. So how does that play into the Wahhabi and the Sunni and the Salafi perspective? And who are the Pashtun? Is like the army mostly Pashtun?
Oh, in Pakistan?
Yeah, because like the Pakistani army is being basically outsourced to take care of Saudi Arabia's needs.
It's traditionally been mostly Punjabs, because they're the dominant ethnic group in Pakistan. But they have to do a lot of power sharing because they got to operate in the Pashtun area. So they've been trying to co-opt Pashtun leaders. I forget. I was watching a PBS series that took place. When was that? 2006 2007.
Mhm.
Maybe it was earlier than that. But they had sent one of their local national reporters into the Waziristans. And they have all these signs up that there's no national police or national army allowed in the Waziristans, that they're the federally administrated tribal areas. Anyway, the guy, which leader? It was from the Orkside tribe in Waziristan, I believe. I forget the Tariqi Taliban name.
For those that are not familiar, Waziristan is inside Afghanistan.
Yeah, it's just north of Quetta there.
North of what now?
Quetta?
No.
It's
got the. Okay, there we go. Okay, so
yeah.
here, somewhere around here. What are these other maps that you got here?
Oh, those are some different subgroups. Yeah, that has some of the different subgroups because the Pashtun, and some areas are mixed. I think that brown area on the bottom left is a very heavily Pashtun area. I mean, Baluch area.
Baluchi, yeah.
Yeah, and then you get that turquoise area is what the Brahul ethnic group. I just use the other one because these are smaller ethnic groups that have been there over time.
Mm-hmm.
But the main groups are just the Baluchis and the Pashtuns, and the Quetta. The Quetta is where the Afghan Taliban formed when during Operation Cyclone. During the Soviet years, they exiled and worked with the different leaders of some of the other groups. It's what they call the Tariqi Taliban now, the Pakistan Taliban, but the Pakistan Taliban and the Afghan Taliban had been meeting at the Quetta. Well, they called it the Quetta Shura Council, but you have other actors in there too. You have the Akanis. Hektamar was also part of that group 40 years ago, and these people are still around. They're still in power in Kabul now, of course, now since the Taliban took over. But Francis Buckley.
Yeah, go on, Francis Buckley.
Yeah, he was one of the CIA station chiefs in Pakistan at the time, and he was against Operation Cyclone. So he didn't want to arm a bunch of people, and some of them are Al Qaeda. I mean, they were Osama bin Laden. They knew that al-Zawahiri was part of the assassination attempt of Sadat in '81, and he was against some of it. But then he got replaced by people that were kind of for arming everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I did post on our Telegram page over the course of the summer plenty of, or I guess that was last fall, plenty of interviews of Brzezinski talking. It was Zbigniew Brzezinski, not Mika, the smarter one. Anyway, well, okay, he's a smart guy, but it still didn't work out. But that whole area is so volatile. But people were asking him if arming the Mujahideen, and they used the Mujahideen as a catch-all. And they use the Taliban as a catch-all, but when it comes right down to it, it's
like Al Qaeda.
Yeah, it's the they're really talking about the Pashtun majority in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And then it breaks down to other groups because you have the somebody will say not all the Taliban are Pashtuns. No, you got the Tajik Taliban too, but they're tasked with different missions by the people from the Arabian Peninsula of taking out different border areas to put the Khorasan back together again. So the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan is supposed to obliterate the Afghan-Uzbekistan border, and the Tajik Taliban are supposed to try to obliterate the border with Tajikistan. and make it all big one Khorasan area like it used to be. But then that also means obliterating the borders of Afghanistan and Pakistan. If they do that, well, then the Taliban would control, or the Islamic extremists would control a country with nuclear weapons. So that's the danger there. So to the withdrawal of the United States from Afghanistan after we left $80 billion worth of equipment and training, because the people with inside the Beltway in DC decided that they were going to create this utopia, multi-ethnic, secular government in Afghanistan over 2 decades, and of course it fell apart before we even pulled out. That now the place looks like it's going to further destabilize, and there's plenty of support for Imran Khan and that Pashtun movement. But again, you're really talking about a Taliban movement.
So wait, what you're saying is that Imran Khan is a Talibani Afghani agent, and that he wants to break up Pakistan so that he can give Afghanistan a port. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more just to restore the original Pashtun areas all the way to the Indus River, because that was their traditional homeland. And they refused to accept the Durand Line as a national boundary. And as far as the affinity between, the Pashtun tribes being the lost tribes of Israel and the Arabs, that are funding, the oil sheiks that are funding this, because I mean they've been throwing billions of dollars at this every year, right? So it's people with a lot of money, like a tremendous amount of money. A lot of the argument is from the Hebrew scholars in Israel that they took their place names with them from what's now northern Syria, the Hebor River, the Hebor Pass between Peshawar and Kabul. You have the Suleiman Mountains that the Durand Line goes over the top of, and that's named after Solomon, obviously. So you get some obvious place names like that that indicate that they very well could be the lost tribes of Israel. But yeah, that's why that. And again, the Arabs have the obsession with the Pashtun and uniting the brothers of Abraham. The Pashtun don't necessarily have the affinity with the Arabs, though. I mean, it kind of goes one way, but they're definitely funding that.
You not think that it's maybe refunding, that it's actually State Department that's funding the Saudis and telling them where to send their funds?
No, that's been going on for decades. That's been
precisely. That's my point.
No,
ever since the mosque takeover that you mentioned so often.
Yeah, it's they're funding it through those different Islamic charities. Because even in one of the interviews that Zbigniew Brzezinski was doing, they were like, "Well, was Operation Cyclone a good idea of funding the Mujahideen, considering who's all in it?" And he said, "Well, even if us and Britain didn't send weapons over there, what the UK and the British sent was really just a fraction of what they were receiving from people from the Arabian Peninsula."
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean Saudi oil sheiks, Qataris, people from the UAE is principally what he's talking about, and some Kuwaitis as well.
Yeah, there's extremists all around.
Yeah, well, they have ones with billions of dollars.
Is there anything that we didn't cover about the situation in Pakistan and the?
Yeah, well, let's just. I just threw all that in there. I haven't really I was tracking that more last year than this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm too caught up in the PowerPoint slides of what we're doing lately, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just to give people overall, that's the perspective, because they don't want to talk about. Our media is so sanitized as far as there might be ethnic conflict that they don't report blatant and obvious ethnic conflict.
Yeah. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah, they
That's
want
why this is
everybody
a comedy show. Because
Yeah.
nothing here can hurt your feelings. Like, share, and subscribe.
All right.
George, I think we covered this. Thank you
Yeah.
for giving us an insight. Everybody, you know what to do. We'll be back.